And welcome back. With the IRS hosting vendors who don't even pay their income taxes, it makes you wonder how they plan to enforce Obamacare. Former IRS agent Joe Bannister joins us to talk about just that issue. All right, thanks for joining us, Joe.
Thank you, Jakari. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, we had this article come out a couple days ago. It says, report IRS vendor owed $525 million in back taxes. Now, Joe, what's the deal? This is just one of the vendors. There were over 1,200 from my understanding. Oh, excuse me, yeah, about 1,200. And why is it okay for these IRS vendors not to pay their back taxes?
Well, Jakari, the problem is that there's a double standard, and there always has been. Throughout the decades, at least certainly that I've been paying attention, there's many people in Congress that don't pay the income tax or cheat on it. Many IRS employees and government employees, and certainly government contractors as well. There's a lot of people in government that just look the other way, except for one group, and that's people like you and me. If we don't have connections, we can be assured of getting hammered. So, these things come up, and they basically are just the tip of the iceberg. But generally, the American people kind of yawn, collectively. I mean, many of us scream bloody murder when this happens, but unfortunately, the American people yawn and vote the same politicians in and let the same contractors be worked with, and kind of business.
Yeah, because we've seen Tim Geithner, he didn't pay his taxes for a good while, as well as many of Obama's aides themselves. They just didn't get around to paying their taxes.
Right, and their constituents could care less, and so it's just business as usual. And that's kind of what you guys do there, and what I do is try to get people to wake up and care about getting screwed in this manner.
Exactly. Now, Joe, since the last time we've had you on the show, we've had a lot of new developments with the IRS. The Lois Lerner situation, let's talk briefly about that. What do you think about her testimony and her decision to step down?
Well, the great thing for them is that they are well cushioned in terms of their careers, and maybe her reputation isn't so great, but I think somehow that nice plump pension will help her to forget all the difficulties that she had. It's business as usual with the politicians and who they appoint. The Obama administration and who they appoint. They're all their cronies, so that they can go about doing their dirty business, going after their opposition. And they need people like Lois Lerner to help them do that, because Obama's not going to put on a badge and a gun and go knock down your door, or forbid you from participating in the political process. But somebody like Lois Lerner can, and she had a track record of doing so. So Obama knew that she was the woman for him.
Exactly. Now, we've seen them target Tea Party groups, conservative Christian groups. I mean, how does this come about? How does this, we know it's not okay if they do this, but how does it even get in the thought process that, yes, we can do this and we'll do it until we'll get away? Do you have any idea how they come up with this stuff?
Well, I think the first problem is the mentality of the American people, thinking that they have to have a permission slip from the Obama administration to engage in political activity. Newsflash, there's something called the First Amendment.
Exactly.
And that's our permission slip. So, I hope more Americans will educate themselves about these processes that are abused. But many times people don't even need to go through the process. They can simply exercise their First Amendment right and not wait for government permission to do something they don't need permission to do.
Exactly. Now, we're coming up on the 100th anniversary of the Federal Reserve. And 100 years, Joe, you're very educated in the IRS. What have we gained, if anything, from the Federal Reserve System?
Well, the American people haven't gained much. I think they've lost, they're losing everything. And I don't know if people realize that the federal income tax and the Federal Reserve Act were passed in the same year, 1913, and it is the 100th anniversary of both the income tax and the Federal Reserve. And it wasn't a coincidence that both of them were passed in 1913, because the income tax is part and parcel of the Federal Reserve System. One can't work without the other. And of course, the byproduct, or the little special ingredients of the income tax, is the control, surveillance, and dumbing down and domestication of the American people. And so the federal government has had 100 years to get this in place. And so the Obamacare debacle and these Tea Party things are more like the little gifts that was inside the Trojan horse.
Mm-hmm.
The Trojan horse was let in the gate 100 years ago, and these are all the additional gifts that were inside the horse.
Now, Joe, let's get back to Obamacare. You touched on it briefly for a second there. We see people being kicked off their plans, the lies coming out that first that you could keep your doctor, and now you can't keep your doctor, and just the lies keep compounding and saying that they didn't target various groups, and now they're going to target various groups. People are forced to get married and so forth. There's a lot of things that go on with this. Just your thoughts. What are your thoughts about Obamacare?
Well, it's another boondoggle, and unfortunately, there aren't enough Americans. We know that the politicians don't read the bill. You can ask Nancy Pelosi.
That's right.
She waits to pass it before she reads it, and so if she's not reading the bills, more than likely most of the American people aren't. I think there's a lot of like InfoWars, all of you guys and gals. There are people who are doing the hard work and pointing out the problems with these legislations, NDAA and Obamacare. And the problem is that, we need more Americans rowing the boat with us to pay attention, to scream bloody murder, as you guys were instrumental in stopping the Syrian invasion, right?
Yeah, we reported on a lot of that stuff, yeah.
Right, so we have the power, we just need to exercise it, and we need a whole lot more people in the boat helping us to row.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because people always say, you guys, you bring up these points, and they're good points, they're valid points, but what do we do? What do we do, Joe Bannister, to fight off Obamacare? What do we do to fight off the IRS? The deadlines are fast approaching. I think there's like a December 23rd deadline, federal deadline to make a choice of your health care. And then you have to pay premiums by January 1st. And certain health care providers are allowing a few-day grace period. If anyone has been procrastinating to find out what their options are going to be and what dangers to their privacy are going to exist, I suggest that at least this year in 2014, worst case scenario is $95 penalty if they even find you. Mm-hmm. But after 2014, the penalties start to ramp up. The dangers to our privacy are already there. If you give your information to anyone, it doesn't matter if they're the IRS or not, any insurance company, it's going to be passed along to the IRS. So you better look at those early lines in the sand, because if you cross those, you may very well find yourself with a letter from the IRS or a phone call. And not only that, we've seen these sites being hacked. They're very unsecure. We've heard these fake teledialers and internet insurers getting these people's information under fraudulent terms.
Absolutely. I mean, the dangers to your privacy aren't just from the government. But I think there was a recent story about the couple, the woman who was expecting the premium to be deducted from her bank account 2 months later, but the deduction happened 2 months earlier, and lo and behold, their cash flow couldn't handle like an $800 or $1,000 ding to their bank account. So this is what happens when you let other people into your life in this manner. And I'm not saying it's easy, but you really have to watch out who you give your information to, and some website that seems harmless could be the beginning of the end for your privacy and your bank accounts and everything. Exactly. And we've talked to John McAfee of McAfee Antivirus Software, and he said, I'm not going to work on this healthcare site, even though he was invited to, because this thing is busted and tore down to begin with. Now, Joe Bannister, we've come to the end of our interview, so please give us your final thoughts and also tell us how we can keep up with you. People can go to agentfortruth.com. There's a section called Become an Agent for Truth that I think will be very helpful to people. And as far as alternatives to Obamacare, you might look into the health sharing organizations that are out there. That's another alternative. So, agentfortruth.com, and I really appreciate everything that everybody at InfoWars is doing, and we just got to keep on fighting. Joe Bannister, thank you for your time, sir. Thank you, Jakari.
And that's the end of our show tonight, and I'd like to thank you for joining us here, but I'd also like you to join us on prisonplanet.tv, where you can normally get a 15-day free trial, but right now, for a limited time, you can get the Alex Jones Show, the special reports, the nightly news, the rants, the movies, and so much more, 5 months free. So go to prisonplanet.tv and sign up today. And something else that you do not want to miss, even if for some reason that's not affordable to you, it can be a whole lot affordable if you win the latest contest. The InfoWars announces we will resist TSA and NSA tyranny, the 10K film contest. The deadline is fast approaching, so get your entry in today. I'm Jakari Jackson for the InfoWars Nightly News, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
Now you can watch The Alex Jones Show live as it happens at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
More than 60 movies and documentaries all in one place at Infowars.com/show.
The InfoWars crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot Blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support, 100% organic coffee, infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats, but this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at InfoWars. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.